we don't know is we don't know what the federal decision process was. So that may have had something to do with it. We don't know. They won't tell us. So we've asked the federal, the grant and per diem program people in Tampa that these are federal VA folk that run this program. We asked them to explain why our grant was not approved, and the only thing they would tell us is that it didn't score high enough.
So that could be not even an assessment of Cottage 16, but maybe they didn't like the application, or something went wrong with the application process?
Well, I would say no, because the application was identical for Chippewa Falls, and Chippewa Falls was approved. So, anything, their reasoning would just be speculation on my part. We're trying to get that answer so we have a better understanding, but have always met or exceeded the standards. So we've always been doing well, and we've always been very well. Our census has always been very high. So in other words, our beds are generally full. Okay, so all of that is good news. Now, there are over 14,000 beds in this program across the United States. Last year, 2,000 of those beds were empty. And that equates to about $33 million that is locked down in this program that the VA can't repurpose for something else because it's locked down with these beds, for these vacant beds. Do you understand how that? I mean, they have to commit the money to the beds that they've approved, so they have to hold the money there, and then when the money's not spent, they essentially lose it at the end of the fiscal year. So what they decided to do was they canceled everybody's approval across the entire country, over 700 programs. And then they said, and this was last fall, and they said you must reapply, recertify your program. So in other words, you're now requesting a grant. It's a 1-year grant with 2 1-year extensions. So unless you somehow violate the rules or whatever, you're essentially going to get a 3-year grant. So we submitted everything on time, and everything is very high quality submission. And our 3 submissions were identical. So I mean, with the nuances of obviously we have different locations, but the exact verbiage and various other things, the submissions were identical. Very high quality type submissions. Then the submissions go to the VA Medical Center that supports that particular program. So Union Grove is supported by Milwaukee, by Zablocki. King is supported by Madison, by Middleton Medical Center, and then Chippewa Falls is supported by Minneapolis. So the grant requests go to those particular medical centers, and they're endorsed. Whatever the medical center wants to put on there, they could put a strong letter, they could put no letter, they could put a lukewarm letter, they could do whatever they want to do. And then they forward it on to the people down in Tampa, the Grant and Per Diem Program office down in Tampa, who makes the decision on the grant. Now with 700 grants, they pulled in people from around the country to score these grants. So it's very possible that a person scoring the Chippewa Falls grant was different than the person that scored the King grant or the Union Grove grant.
Aren't the veterans of Wisconsin owed an explanation for why this program was cut and when? And can't you, on their behalf, get that answer for them?
They've been given the answer of I met with both Union Grove and King yesterday. All of the veterans at those programs, I went there in person and talked to them. And if they wanted to come to the group, I talked to them as a group, and if they wanted to talk to me individually, I talked to them individually. I gave them the information that we know right now, right? So they've been given the explanation. They've been given all the information that we have.
So
what we've done,
okay.
What we've done though is we've appealed to. There is one veteran asked me if I appealed the denial, and there's 2 answers to that question. There's a yes and there's a no. there was a no because there is no appeal process. There is no formal appeal process that you follow to get it reviewed. Okay, so technical response to his question is no, because there is no appeal process. But that doesn't mean that we sit and not ask the question. So what we did is we went back through our particular channels, both through the legislature, through the federal legislature, so Congressman Ryan is actually leading the response on this. And we also went through the federal secretary's office. So I don't have the ability to just pick up the phone and call Secretary Shulkin, but I do have access to his liaisons and his staff to be able to, get this reviewed by them.
So if I understand you right, Secretary Zimmerman, you can confirm you are asking the federal government to reconsider and restore funding for Cottage 16.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the thing that, and this is what I explained to the veterans yesterday, is I want to keep the programs going, okay? But what I can't promise them is I can't promise them that I'm going to be able to do that. So, what I don't want to tell them and what I don't want to give them is any false hope. And what we all know that the federal system, if you had to, give it a comparison as far as speed goes, maybe a little bit slower than a sloth sometimes. So what's going to happen is if this is resolved, it's probably going to be resolved after September 30th, after the end of the federal fiscal year. Well, I've got to shut the program down. So if we sit here and we throw all of our marbles into thinking that somebody's going to change their mind, the veterans aren't going to be taken care of. We have to take care of the veterans now, and that's why we have to start moving. Now, we internally to the state, when we got notified, we tried to fund it ourselves. I mean, the critical piece is that there's so much misinformation out there, so many partial pieces of information out there, and we've got news outlets that are reporting partial information. We've got vet service organizations that are reporting partial information. I've talked to all of them, but some of them only want to hear what they want to hear.
Understood.
So,
yeah.
It's a very difficult situation, and I don't think, like I told the vets yesterday, I don't think there's anybody in this state that cares for them more than I care for them. All right, I offered my personal guarantee that I am going to monitor where every one of them goes, and I've got a whole team of people established that are going to follow up with these individuals to make sure that their needs are being met and that they're being taken care of.